Room 13 presents a tale of whispers and shadows, where silence bears secrets too haunting to speak aloud. In the small town of Ashbury, surrounded by dense woodlands and shrouded in a perpetual mist, stood an old mansion, the Hawthorne House. Rumors spun tales of its haunted stone walls, whispering faceless figures, and rooms that didn't exist until they revealed themselves to the unsuspecting. It was a place of legend, feared by many, yet dismissed by the skeptical. The story begins with Elise, a reserved historian with a penchant for local folklore. Hers was a life consumed by the hope of unraveling the town's deepest mysteries. When she inherited the Hawthorne House from a distant relative she never knew, her instincts told her that this was her calling. Despite the hushed warnings from townsfolk, Elise saw only an opportunity to uncover the truth, believing that within its decaying walls lay answers to unanswered questions. Her heart was set on documenting her journey, every finding, every fear. As she entered the estate, the air grew heavy, stilled by an unsettling quiet that gripped her senses. The house loomed eerily in the mist, its structure aged and weather-worn, yet defiant against time. The main entrance creaked open reluctantly, as if waking from a century-long slumber. Inside, darkness smothered the light that dared enter. Shadows skittered across the high ceilings as Elise's flashlight struggled to pierce the murky veil. She set up her equipment in the grand foyer, a camera to capture her investigation and a voice recorder to chronicle her thoughts. The idea of documenting her finds was both logical and comforting, a tether to reality should the whispers prove insidious. Elise knew she had to explore the house methodically, treating each room as a puzzle piece of a grander story. The ground floor revealed a faded tapestry of opulence, faded murals, dust-caked chandeliers, furniture draped in time's forgetfulness. In each room, she found remnants, an embroidered handkerchief, a pocket watch frozen at 12. She placed these artifacts meticulously into evidence bags with care, treating each as a piece of an intricate narrative waiting to be spoken. Time dissolved as she moved from room to room, each unsettling silence drawing her deeper into the mansion's forgotten heart. In the library, her attention fell upon a specific book, its spine cracked and name obscured. Drawn to it, she touched its cover gently, a soothing rhythm of her whispered breath breaking the silence. The book fell open to a bookmarked page, revealing an old map of the estate, marking a room that didn't seem to exist anywhere else, Room 13. The mention of Room 13 was familiar, a whisper woven through Ashbury's collective tale. According to legend, the room appeared only to those seeking what wasn't meant to be found, leaving a mark on their very soul. Despite her disbelief, Elise's curiosity burned brighter now. Determined, she traced the map with her finger, her path already set. The upper floors lay in the shadow, each step up the staircase groaning under ancient wood. Strange drafts whispered past her, unexplained and icy against her skin. Door after door revealed bedrooms and parlors, all ornate yet decrepit. Yet with every door opened, the growing dread of the unseen Room 13 crept deeper into Elise's thoughts. Then, as if emerging from the thick shroud of mystery itself, a door appeared where her map had led. One moment it was wall, and the next, the sinister portal to Room 13. The number was etched into its oak, an everlasting scar. The air vibrated with a mournful sigh as Elise's hand rested on the doorknob, heart thundering in her chest. Inside was a room unlike the others, stripped of decay as if it alone defied time's passage. The walls were a pale ashen hue, free of dust and the claustrophobic aura of the house's forgotten years. A single window was the room's lone feature, its glass opaque and impenetrable to sight or light. On the floor lay a small diary, seemingly fresh although alien to the mansion's age. Elise carefully picked it up, flipping through pages that were new and inviting. Intriguingly, they were filled with her own handwriting, detailing thoughts she hadn't yet conceived. Each entry was a reflection of her own voice, describing moments and fears only she would know, documenting her journey from the beginning, mirroring a future she hadn't yet lived. It was an echo of destiny, pushed forth from the shadows of her own choosing. The recorder captured Elise's hushed thoughts, a trickling monologue of confusion and fear. Her words, however, began to take a more unsettling turn, falling into a dialogue she hadn't intended with another presence, a voice audible only beneath the surface of her own. the whispers now impossible to ignore. Each night, she would come back to the same room, drawn by an unseen pull, the writings in the diary expanding, describing events and feelings yet to come. As days bled into nights, Ashbury's fog pressed against the windows, darker and thicker. Elise's phone calls to the outsider world bore no solace, only static and silence greeting her pleas. The house was devouring the life beyond its walls, tethering her existence to its darkened heart. Without the bounds of time, sleep became a series of dreamscapes woven through the mansion's enigmatic grip. She wandered halls that twisted upon themselves, where each step echoed laughter not her own. She glimpsed fleeting figures in mirrors, expressions twisted in familiar mimicry, their eyes watching with an intent she couldn't understand. Days turned heavier as the diary's entries unfolded with nightmarish rhythm, controlling Elise's perception of what was real and what was merely fabricated. Her own identity seemed to coil within the shadows, lost amongst pages of foreboding scrawl. The house thrummed with a vulgar life when the curtains of twilight fell, enveloping her in its inexhaustible enigma. She stood on the precipice of a world unaware, balanced between reality and the beckoning, taunting chasm beyond. Soon, Elise feared the boundaries were truly breaking, nights seeping into days with no differentiation. And the voice, once beneath hers, started to rise, filling spaces with words she couldn't comprehend nor remember speaking. It urged her to remain, to uncover truths she desperately wanted to illuminate, yet feared what light might reveal. In a moment of clarity shattering through the thick haze, Elise realized Room 13 was more than a manifestation of the house. It was a part of her own making, a conjuration born of her obsessions and her desire to understand the ungraspable. Elise understood that this part of the mansion didn't appear to finders of truth, but to those it chose, weaving them and itself into an eternal legend. The climax came in a crescendo of realization one storm-laden night when Elise was poised by the window. She whispered into the recorder, divulging every unsaid fear and wonder, freeing herself from the room's grip. And the voice, her voice, echoed back, hollow yet fulfilled, merging two selves as she returned to a place within her own spirit. The morning broke, revealing not the gloom of the mansion, but the gentle lightness of clarity. In the aftermath of her confrontation, Elise found herself outside amidst the hawthorn trees, her senses raw but undoubtedly her own once more. The Hawthorne House stood still in its misted glory, silent yet ever watchful, an unsolved puzzlement for perhaps another inquisitor. Elise left Ashbury on a whisper of a breeze, the county's fog fading into memory as she journeyed back to where her story truly began. Her documentation, of voices twined in shadow and sunlight, remained untouched. The camera and recorder that journeyed with her back to her home played a tale bizarre yet vividly true, a story from Room 13, an experience that perhaps promised knowledge to the world she was re-entering. Yet deep down, Elise knew part of the Hawthorne House would remain within her forever, a portion etched not in horror, but in an ancient understanding shared between its walls and her heart. In the pauses where silence speaks volumes unseen, and her story, swirling in mystery, yet so tangibly real, awaited the next to uncover truths hidden in the darkness, the whispering voices of the unknown, telling the tale anew. Note: